They lied to you. Every single one of you who thought Brock Lesnar was coming back to reclaim his throne, they set him up. Before the Beast Incarnate could even breathe on WWE television again, before he could lock eyes with Oba Femi, before he could remind every single superstar on that roster why his name still sends chills down spine, Seth Rollins had already drawn the blueprint to destroy him. And what makes this worse? What makes this the most disgusting, calculated, cowardly act of 2024? Seth didn't just attack Brock Lesnar. He brought an army. Masked men. Faceless soldiers. A whole shadow unit dressed in black, moving in silence like they'd been rehearsing this moment for months. And you know what? They probably had. Drop a comment right now. Did WWE just book the most personal betrayal in years, or did Brock Lesnar walk into the most obvious trap in pro wrestling history? Let's tear this thing apart. Segment 1, setting the stage, Brock's return. Let's rewind and set the table because context is everything here, and if you don't understand the weight of what Brock Lesnar returning to WWE actually means in 2024, then you cannot appreciate just how volcanic this situation has become. Brock Lesnar has not been a fixture on WWE programming. His appearances are rare. They are events. When that music hits, that slow, building, ominous horn, arenas don't just react, they erupt. Because everyone in that building, everyone watching at home, knows that when Brock Lesnar shows up, something real is about to happen. This isn't a guy who comes out for promo segments and handshakes. This is the man who conquered The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. The man who choked out John Cena, destroyed Roman Reigns, humiliated Seth Rollins, and ran roughshod over an entire era of professional wrestling. He is not a character. He is a force. So when word started spreading backstage and online that the Beast Incarnate was coming back and coming back specifically to address the rising threat of Oba Femi, the wrestling world collectively leaned forward. Because that matchup? Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi? That's not just a match. That is a collision between an unmovable legacy and an unstoppable future. That is old money versus new power. That is a statement being made regardless of who wins. Oba Femi, for anyone not paying close attention, has been one of the most physically imposing, athletically gifted, quietly terrifying presences WWE has developed in years. The man doesn't just win matches, he imposes his will on opponents. He makes grown men on the WWE roster look small. And that's saying something. But against Brock Lesnar? Most people assumed even Oba Femi would be tested in a way he'd never been tested before. This was going to be the ultimate proving ground. And then Seth Rollins happened. Segment 2, the attack, what went down. Let's talk about exactly what unfolded because every single detail matters here. Brock Lesnar arrives. The crowd is buzzing. The energy is electric. This is a man who commands attention just by existing in a space, and the WWE Universe was ready. Ready for the stare down, ready for the physicality, ready for whatever confrontation was about to unfold between the Beast and Oba Femi. The anticipation was suffocating in the best possible way. And then darkness. Chaos. Before Brock can even fully orient himself in the ring, figures emerge. Not one, not two, multiple masked men, dressed to conceal, moving with coordinated precision. These aren't random run-ins. These aren't opportunistic attacks. This is a hit. A professional, premeditated, organized assault. And standing behind all of it, orchestrating the carnage with that nauseating smirk that only Seth Rollins can manufacture, the visionary himself. Now here's what I need you to really sit with for a moment. Seth Rollins didn't attack Brock Lesnar in a fair fight. He didn't walk up to the Beast, get in his face, and throw hands. No. Seth Rollins, a man who calls himself the visionary, a man who preaches about being the best in the world, a man who has positioned himself as the measuring stick of WWE. Seth Rollins needed a mask army to take down one returning man. Let that sink in. Let it marinate. Because that tells you everything you need to know about where Seth's head is at right now. The masked men swarm. Numbers overwhelm Lesnar initially. And you can see the shock on Brock's face, not fear, never fear, but the genuine, raw surprise of a man who came prepared for war with one opponent and suddenly finds himself in the middle of an ambush. Brock Lesnar starts fighting back because of course he does. You don't become the Beast by folding when things get hard. He's throwing bodies. He's creating space. But the numbers are just too many, and Seth's soldiers keep coming, keep swarming, keep pulling the Beast back down every time he gets to his feet. And Seth Rollins stands back, watching, calculating, smiling, looking every bit like a man who just watched his most elaborate plan finally come to fruition. Segment 3, the visionary's motive, why Seth did this. Now let's get into the why, because this is where things get deeply interesting and deeply infuriating. Seth Rollins has a complicated, layered, obsessive relationship with legacy. He doesn't just want to win championships. He wants to be recognized as the defining superstar of his generation. He wants his face on the Mount Rushmore of WWE. He wants to stand at the end of his career and be able to say undeniably, irrefutably, that he was the best, that nobody in his era could touch him. And Brock Lesnar is the ghost that haunts that narrative. Every time Lesnar returns, the conversation shifts. The spotlight moves. The entire WWE ecosystem recalibrates itself around the presence of the Beast. And Seth Rollins, regardless of what he's doing, regardless of how many incredible matches he's having, regardless of how loudly the crowd chants his name, gets slightly eclipsed. Not because he's less talented. Not because his in-ring work is any less brilliant. But because Brock Lesnar is a phenomenon that transcends conventional pro wrestling stardom. Seth can't outmuscle Brock Lesnar. He's tried. He knows that. But Seth Rollins is smart, genuinely, dangerously smart. And smart people, when they can't beat someone physically, find other ways. They build systems. They create insurance policies. They surround themselves with infrastructure. They plan. The masked men aren't just hired muscle. They are Seth's acknowledgement that Brock Lesnar requires a special solution. They are Seth's admission buried beneath layers of arrogance and showmanship that he respects Brock Lesnar enough to be terrified of him. Because you don't build a whole masked army for someone you think you can handle alone. You build it for someone who genuinely scares you. And that's what makes this storyline so compelling. Seth Rollins, the most confident man on the WWE roster, the man who calls himself the Visionary, is operating from a place of deep, buried fear. And fear makes people dangerous. Segment 4: Oba Femi's role, the forgotten variable. Here's where we need to talk about something that people are sleeping on in this entire situation: Oba Femi's position in all of this. Think about it from his perspective. He was the reason Brock Lesnar was coming back. The Beast returned because of Oba Femi. That means Lesnar looked at this young, massive, terrifyingly gifted athlete and decided he was worth interrupting his hiatus for. That is the single greatest compliment you can give a superstar in WWE. Brock Lesnar looked at Oba Femi and said this one needs to be handled personally. So now Seth Rollins swoops in and essentially robs Oba Femi of that moment. He robs him of the chance to stand across the ring from the Beast and prove himself on the grandest scale. And how does Oba Femi respond to that? Does he align with Rollins? Does he see the attack as a clearing of his path? Or does he see it as an insult to someone else deciding that his fight needed to be interfered with? Because here's the thing about a man like Oba Femi: he doesn't seem like someone who wants his problems solved for him. He seems like someone who wants to earn everything, who wants to look an opponent in the eye and know that he defeated them on his own terms. Seth Rollins just potentially made a very powerful enemy while trying to neutralize another one. Comment below: do you think Oba Femi turns on Seth Rollins for this? Because I genuinely believe this is the seed being planted for one of the most explosive triple threat storylines WWE could possibly run. You've got the Visionary, the Beast, and the next big thing all in a powder keg together. One spark and the whole thing detonates. Segment 5: The Fallout. What happens next? Brock Lesnar does not forget. This is not a man who takes an L, dusts himself off, and moves on. This is a man who responds in the most violent, physical, earth-shaking way possible. And Seth Rollins, for all his planning, for all his masked soldiers, for all his visionary intelligence, just poked the most dangerous bear on the planet. There are a few ways this plays out, and I want to walk through each one because they all lead to fire. Option 1: Brock Lesnar dismantles the masked men one by one. He hunts them. He tears through Seth's infrastructure piece by piece until Seth has nothing left to hide behind, and then the two of them are finally forced into the confrontation this has been building toward. This is the most satisfying narrative arc. It gives us weeks of Brock being terrifyingly methodical. It slowly strips Seth of his safety net, and it ends with a match that the crowd will lose their minds for. Option 2: Oba Femi inserts himself into the chaos. He decides that if Brock Lesnar was worthy enough to return for him, then he's not going to let Seth Rollins steal that. He goes after both men. We get a three-way war that consumes an entire pay-per-view card. This is the maximum chaos option, and honestly, it might be the most compelling thing WWE could do right now. Option 3: and this is the dark horse: one of the masked men is revealed to be someone we know. Someone with ties to both Seth and Brock's history. A name that makes the entire WWE universe lose their collective minds when the mask comes off. Think about the roster. Think about the returns that haven't happened yet. Think about the names that have unfinished business with Brock Lesnar. There are options here that would make this the moment of the year. Segment 6: The Bigger Picture. What this means for WWE. Step back for a second and look at what WWE is actually building here, because I don't think people are giving this storyline the credit it deserves yet. Seth Rollins with a masked faction completely changes his character. He's been operating as this cocky, confident lone wolf type for a while. The belt collector era, the world heavyweight champion era, all of it has been Seth standing on his own 2 feet and daring the world to knock him off. This is different. This is evolution. This is Seth Rollins looking at the landscape of WWE and making a calculated decision that to truly dominate, to truly secure his legacy, he needs to operate differently. He needs infrastructure. He needs a support system. He needs muscle that can do things his body cannot. That's not weakness. That's adaptation. And adaptation is what separates good characters from great ones. Meanwhile, Brock Lesnar coming back not as a monster heel but potentially as a sympathetic figure, as someone who was ambushed, blindsided, attacked by cowards in masks. That is a dynamic we genuinely haven't seen from Lesnar in a very long time. The audience may actually be behind Brock going into this. And a Brock Lesnar that the crowd is cheering for? That is appointment television every single week. Closing call to action, hard sell. Here's the bottom line, and I need you to hear this clearly. Seth Rollins just made the biggest, most dangerous gamble of his career. He didn't just attack a man. He awakened something. He lit a fuse on a situation that was already explosive and then poured gasoline on it. Brock Lesnar is coming back. Oba Femi isn't going anywhere. And Seth Rollins is standing in the middle of a storm he created, smiling, because that's who he is. But make no mistake, the thunder is coming. Drop a comment and tell me, who are the masked men? What's Seth's endgame? And does Brock Lesnar tear the whole thing down before WrestleMania season? I want to hear your theories. I read every single comment on this channel. If this video got your blood pumping, smash the like button. It takes 2 seconds and it means everything to this channel. Share this with every wrestling fan you know, because this conversation needs to be loud. And if you are not subscribed to Ring Rumble 1 yet, what are you doing? This is the only channel that talks about WWE the way it deserves to be talked about. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and I will see you in the next one. The beast has been awakened. The visionary is exposed. And WWE will never be the same. Ring Rumble 1 out.